Hey guys, this is Dirk. Shout out to the chillers. Good luck.
Welcome back to
We're back.
Triple Single. Yes, sir. Today, we're going to be covering. You guys won't notice it, but it's a double header for us. So if we're wearing the same clothes, we are not filthy degenerates. We are just
Some of
recording.
us aren't.
Okay, well, that's okay. We're covering the offseason today for every team in the league. This episode is going to be the Western Conference. The next episode you guys will see will be the Eastern Conference. And yeah, no, so we're just gonna. It's gonna be ordered in order of standings. So we're gonna start with the Nuggets and with the Spurs. Just jump right into it. After I think you will be leading us off. Bashir.
Yeah. So the defending NBA champion Denver Nuggets, surprisingly a pretty good offseason for them. Or a big offseason, I should say. They have a lot of like draft acquisitions and undrafted guys. And losing only a few key guys. So the Nuggets main additions for me here: Julian Strother, Jalen Pickett, Hunter Tyson, and they have a few other guys: Armin Franklin, Andrew Funk, Soleli Boom. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. So these are all like young guys, new additions. Strother, we talked about it before on the draft episode. He's my guy, big fan of him. But Nuggets also losing Bruce Brown and Big Unk, Grandpa Jeff Green will not be here next season. Um, so yeah, for me, I think this is a pretty good outcome for Denver overall. Losing Bruce to the Pacers kind of stinks a little bit. He was really good for them, but I mean they're replacing these two guys with a lot of young talent with some decent upside, especially in Strother as a 3-and-D guy. So overall, I'm a big fan. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean they were kind of a victim of what happens when you win a championship. Normally, when you get a ring, one of two things happens: you bring back basically everybody, and they want to run it back and see if they can do it again, or there's a mass exodus of talent because people got theirs and now they want to go get a big payday, which as they should. Bruce Brown was not getting that money anywhere else, so that really hurts to lose him, but it's understandable. Losing Jeff Green sucks. I mean, he's been a pretty big part of what they do there for a little bit. He's a good vet. Losing Thomas Bryant to the Heat is a little unfortunate. Just as far as we did see a lot of Aaron Gordon at the 5 late in the season and in the playoffs. I don't know if that's something you can do for a full regular season. They brought back DeAndre Jordan. Ooh. But now this is like a crucial time for Zeke Naji because we haven't really seen a lot from him, especially as a center. He always kind of looked more like a 4, and like it's a little tough if he doesn't really turn into something this season. I loved what they did though, trading that future first to bring in all these young guys and kind of reload on talent during the most crucial portion of their window to like repeat. That was a really good thing, especially from a team that has such a successful draft history. I trust a lot of the guys that they brought in. If you surround Jokic with athletes and shooters and guys who can fit into their system, you're going to be successful. And I mean, I think they did a lot of that. I mean, Christian Brown, was a rookie last year and was playing not just playing for them, but like meaningful, impactful minutes in throughout the whole playoffs and especially in the finals. So, as a team that drafts well, I trust what they did. I'd probably give it like a C plus just because again they did lose a lot of talent, but I did like who they brought in to kind of supplement that.
Mhm. I get I think I'm a little more negative on it than both you guys, just because, and it's not really to do with the picks. Like I like Strother, I like Jalen Pickett, Hunter Tyson. I'm not as keen on, but he could be something. I think more than anything, I just really love the extra dimension that Bruce Brown gave them. He was like one of the most important six men in the entire league, in the sense that, like, you're talking about a dude who, as long as you have like Jokic on the floor, you could take pretty much any of the other four guys out of the lineup, replace him with Bruce Brown, and he gives you like an element of dynamism and like versatility that isn't always there. Like you can, if Jamal's having an off game, MPJ like can't hit the bottom of the net, or KCP's gassed, or Aaron Gordon's getting like spaced out. Like you can just slot Bruce in there, and like he's the type of dude who he can like a lot is made these days about like a guy who can like play like 1 through 3 on defense, which Bruce can do. But he can also like kind of play 1 through 3 on offense next to Jokic anyway. Like he can be like a good secondary playmaker. He can attack from the wing. He could shoot, obviously. And I don't know. I think losing that is like kind of sucks for them. Like it's and like obviously they made other moves to try to buffer that, but I don't know. It feels bad if you're the Nuggets. I feel like it's on that alone. I'm giving them like a C minus, just because that's like I think we're looking at it regardless of the development of Brown and the additions of Strother and Tyson and them. I think we're just looking at an outright worse team now with no Bruce Brown.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think losing Bruce definitely sucks, but I think with the capacity for development that this Nuggets organization has shown, I think a lot of these guys are going to be able to like be solid contributors next season. Like losing Brown is definitely a huge minus in the short term, especially. But I think Pickett, Strother, even like I don't know, like Andrew Funk, like I think all these guys will be able to like play at some point. Strother and Pickett especially, I think are uh, really good shots to be in the rotation going forward. So
Yeah. No, I
I don't
mean,
know. I like
I
what I see
think
overall.
I think they can contribute. I think it's just a matter of like Bruce Brown is the guy. Like again, you could take out any of the guys who aren't Jokic and put Bruce Brown in, and you could still feel really good about your chance going like toe to toe, like 5-on-5 with the best teams in the league, because he was like truly really that good. Like I think he's like
Hmm.
an average to above average starter level player, and it would be really cool if you could get like contributions like that from any of the other guys in the roster. But it feels like a really long shot.
yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
I think I mean, they have been the difference in Jokic on and off the floor the past few seasons has already been like a historic drop, and I think that definitely got
Yeah.
a lot worse than it, already was. By no means would I say this was a successful offseason for them, but I feel like they couldn't control these guys leaving, and I think the stuff that they did that was in their control, they did a really good job at. But yeah, probably like a C
No, yeah, they
plus.
did. Like for reference, I think if they just retain Bruce Brown, do everything else the same, I think it's like an A off
Oh
season
yeah,
for them. I think it's literally just like him leaving is like a pretty big deal. I mean,
yeah,
'cause I like the rest of the moves. I like the draft. I always like
Yeah,
the
I get
draft.
that.
that's
I guess for me, overall it averages out at around a B, I would say.
Mm.
But you know me, I'm a big Strother guy, and
Yeah.
I don't know them losing Jeff Green. I think we like him, but he's not an essential piece. He's pretty replaceable production,
yeah. I mean,
I don't even
and
think I made notes about him. Honestly, I think he's
they
not
got
even in
just
my sheet.
they got Justin Holiday. I
yeah,
mean, he does
and
some of those
they
things.
replaced a lot of the older kind of bummy rotation guys that they had with just like some young like 20, 21 year olds. So I think like maybe in the short term it's worse, but long term I definitely see that this could be a very positive direction.
Let's talk about
Mm.
the gritty team.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yes, of course.
It is a little tough to gauge exactly what they did because we're not really going to see the full vision of the roster until 25 games into the season. Obviously, John Morant is suspended. Who knows how that happened? Um, but
Couldn't tell you.
so it's going to be a while before we get to see things through. I love Marcus Smart. He's a fantastic addition. The price was pretty steep, though. Tyus Jones, you could argue. I mean, I would find it pretty inarguable. He's been the best backup point guard in basketball for pretty comfortably like 2 seasons now, maybe even 3. He really is one of the best like high IQ, low mistakes. Doesn't turn the ball over guys in the whole league, and he's a big part of why I think they looked so good the past few seasons. When they would go on these big win streaks, even when Ja was missing time with injury. So it really sucks to lose him. Marcus Smart is again a fantastic player, but Tyus Jones and 2 first-round picks is a pretty hefty price to pay for that. And Desmond Bain, basically being the wing now that Dylan Brooks is gone is a little tough. They do have Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson on the back end, but they brought in a lot of short guys this offseason who really are not like crazy playing above their height defensively. So that might be a little bit tough. But I mean, Marcus Smart, he's I don't really care what other people say, about him not being like a real point guard and all that. I think he's demonstrated enough the past few seasons that when Ja's out, he's going to be pretty capable at running the offense. Desmond Bane's playmaking chops have certainly taken a jump the last few seasons, so I think they will be fine while Ja's out. I don't think they're going to enjoy the success that they had, the past few seasons when he was out, where they were going on these like crazy win streaks without him. Brandon Clark still being out with his Achilles tear sucks too. He was really, really good for them. I did like them bringing in Josh Christopher, for a pretty low price. This is really the year that Zaire Williams has to figure things out because they don't have almost anything now at his positions. Like, he really needs to come be like an impactful wing player. But him and David Roddy are gonna have the opportunity. But yeah, from a culture and a playoff readiness standpoint, I like the direction that they've taken. The Desmond Bane extension is very good. You don't have to worry about him for the next 5 years. But Tyus Jones is really fucking good, man. They're very, very much gonna miss Tyus Jones on this team.
Yeah, the Tyus Jones thing, it kind of stinks. I get it though, because the thing with Tyus is that he has 1 year left, and he had made it like really clear, like, hey, I love Memphis, but once my contract runs out, I'm leaving because I can start in this league.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a dip. And like, I think if that's how it's going to be, you're turning like an expiring asset, even if it is a good one, an expiring asset into like 3 years of Marcus Smart, who's really, really, really good. Like I don't mind the fact that like I get that like Bane will be like the quote unquote like three, but we've seen what Marcus Smart can do. Like Dylan Brooks last year, he was not really a wing defender. He was just like a defender more than anything. It was just like, hey, that's the best player. Go get him. And Marcus Smart is just like that, but like a lot better at it. On both, right, a lot better on both ends, really. Like he's additional playmaking. We don't have to talk about shot making with these players. I really would rather not. Um, but he's definitely like a way better connective passer, way better like initiator, but better handle. Um, I think just pretty much superior like all aspects of defense. Like you can point out like a wing and say like, hey Marcus, go get him, right? And like you'd be fine with that. The no ties thing, I mean like it hurts. And Dylan Brooks, I'll be honest, I didn't really I know like the contract he got in Houston was like kind of crazy, and they probably wouldn't have matched that. But I still felt like there was a place for him on that team, just not only culturally, but just in terms of like a fit. Like if you can have Dylan Brooks taking the fifth most shots, like is ideal in that system, and he's not being stretched thin by like a Bane injury and a Jaren injury and a Jaha injury and a Steven Adams injury. Like if you can have him looking at like a low like 11 12 points a game shot diet, then I think that's like a positive player because I think he really is that good on defense. um yeah, in terms of draft acquisitions, you got GG in the second round, which I kind of rock with, just as like a flyer on dude who has a lot of potential as like a big creator. um in general, I usually like what the Grizzlies do more than this. What are you rocking with, Connor? I was thinking like a B minus ish.
I think I said exactly B minus.
Mm-hmm.
Just because
Yeah, Bashir, what about you?
it's a little hard to gauge it until we see what it looks like with John Morant back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a C plus for the Grizzlies here. Like you guys said, I'm not a fan of Marcus Smart, but I do really like him on this team, and I think in losing Dylan Brooks on a big contract to Houston, which we'll talk about later, I think this is about as good of a fit replacement as you can get, really. Smart's a premier defender in the league, obviously, and he brings a lot of playmaking chops from Boston that can sort of replace what Tyus was doing for them. My curiosity here is what they're going to do about the starting lineup. Like, is Smart going to be The backup, when Jaw comes back, is he going to start at the 2? How are they going to sort out the defensive matchups? Because they don't really have any starter quality wings as yet, unless, like you said, Zaire, goes crazy or something. It could be maybe we see some Aldama starts or some Conchar starts here and there. But yeah, I mean, it's all right. They bring in Josh Christopher, who's got some upside to him. Derrick Rose, I mean, he's probably not going to play. This is kind of just like a Memphis thing. But yeah, all in all, not too bad, not too good.
Kings.
Oh boy. All right. So the Sacramento Kings, last season's best offense in the NBA and the what was it, like 25th, 26th best defense.
Pretty
So you don't love
That
it.
sounds about
Pretty
right.
down
Yeah.
there, yeah.
You're not exactly obsessed with it on that end. Um, so in terms of let me pull this up quickly. In terms of like key losses, it's really just, I mean, key quote unquote, it's like Rashawn Holmes, who was not really doing that
Yeah.
much for them anyway. Like a lot of their piece, like they lose Terrence Davis, they lose Chimezie Metu, but it's not,
A
you're
lot of
not like,
replaceable production.
yeah, it's not anything you're losing sleep over. In terms of the gains, this is a really interesting one, I think, because I've already talked about that. I really rock with Colby Jones like that as like this ancillary player who can fit next to other talent well and will be like ready to contribute on day one as like a NBA level backup in terms of like defending, shooting, like passing. Maybe not like the highest ceiling, but again, like he's a cool guy. Um, the main addition, though, in this offseason, this is like one of probably the main guy I was looking at for this episode was Mr. Sasha Vezenkov
Yes,
out of
sir.
the EuroLeague, the reigning
EuroLeague
EuroLeague
MVP.
MVP and scoring champion, by the way. Um, so Vezenkov is really interesting. On offense, I don't think I could love the fit anymore unless he was like a little better of a passer. But like we're talking a guy like this is a Kings offense that generates layups and 3 pointers for you like almost no one else does in the NBA as long as you're willing to move without the ball. And Sasha Vezenkov might be the best mover without the ball of anyone in the world who's not the NBA right now. Like we're talking about a dude who can, he can cut, he can like fake you out with like his little wide receiver routes off the ball. Like he is really special at getting open, getting into his shot, like off the catch. He's like a 40% from three shooter. He's like 50 plus from mid range. He's just incredibly efficient. I think he was I think his most recent EuroLeague season, his splits were like 66-38 or something like that. Like it's like it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like this is a dude who he's almost like when I see him, I see like a little bit like the Michael Porter Jr. of just like a 6'10" guy who, you give it to him, he will like run off a screen, probably a little quicker than MPJ at that, but he'll be able to run off a screen, square up to the basket, fire, up to the basket, dunk, like come off a screen, hand off mid range. Like in terms of an off ball scorer, he is exactly someone that this team would love. Like I think there's a chance that he's starting early and often for them because of his offensive production.
Yeah,
But
not much loss for the Kings here. Oh, sorry.
but the thing is, it's the Kings and the defense stinks, and Sasha Vezenkov, the defense stinks, and it's it's tough, man. Like I love the pickup. Like we're probably looking at like pushing a 120 offensive rating, but the defense is like probably north of 115. And I think it's just not tenable to not be able to guard up if you're really trying to contend. Like this is what the Kings have been very adamant that like this is their core now and they want to like win. And I don't know how much more room they have to go up on offense, whereas they have like a lot of room to go up on defense. And I really wish like Reznikov is great, but I don't know how much better he makes them because he's just good at the stuff they're already good at and bad at the thing they need to get better at. So I don't know. I like him. I think in terms of like talent addition, I was looking at it like as a B, but I'm not sure how much the needle moves for them.
Well, as a point to the 2024 Sacramento Kings defense, we're overlooking acquisition Nerlens Noel,
Oh
who
boy.
who he did have a pretty bad year in in Detroit. Not the greatest for him, but I mean,
Hmm.
just like a season, 2 seasons ago, this guy was a really talented backup center defensively. So I mean, they bring him in. Maybe he can, you know, help shore them up on that end. But yeah, otherwise they're not really getting much
No,
out
I mean,
there.
I just think
he
he
definitely was good, but I mean, you're talking like 16 minutes a night of a guy who's like probably good on defense. We don't really know anymore. Um, but I don't know. What do you think, Connor?
I just think he suffers from some of the same problems that kept Rashawn Holmes out, because Rashawn Holmes has never been like a bad defender or anything like that. He really just kind of fell out of the rotation because he didn't fit in like the high tempo read and react system with emphasis on ball and player movement that the Kings like to run, and Nerlens doesn't fit that either. So like Nerlens probably pound for pound, I would say, in his better years was definitely a better defender than Rashawn Holmes. But as far as the pickup, he kind of has the same deficiencies that I think led to them moving Rashawn Holmes. So I don't know how much he's really gonna do for them. But I mean, I agree. Like, yeah, if he can kind of get back to at least part of what he was before, during the Sabonis-less minutes, they can enjoy some of that rim protection a little bit more. Um, but yeah, I mean, swapping Terrence Davis for Chris Duarte, as far as like caliber of player, that's fairly lateral. But I think Chris Duarte can put the ball on the floor a little bit better. So it's just getting a 26-year-old for another 26-year-old, which is kind of crazy because Chris Duarte is old as hell for when he came into the
He's a
league.
sophomore who's older than Brandon Ingram.
Right.
Yeah.
Like so that's kind of crazy, but I think I think the individual creation is maybe a little bit more there than with Terrence Davis, even if you lose some of the flamethrower spot up potential. My favorite
Yeah.
thing that they did this offseason was actually what they didn't do. I think that they had their sights set on Jeremy Grant, because he would have came in and basically been the Harrison Barnes replacement and fit like a glove for them. And unfortunately, they were outbid by Damian Lillard's wild trolling. So I like that after that fell through, they had all this cap space. They didn't go panic buy. They went and they got some smaller deals here and there that they thought fit maybe what they wanted to do this season. But they're gonna have a bunch of cap space next year too. So I like that when the move that they wanted to do didn't work out, they kind of just stood pat, and didn't potentially grief their next 2 or 3 off seasons by taking on a bad contract for someone that they needed. So I give it like a like a B.
Yeah, the was it 160 mil for Jeremy Grant? Hey man, I like him. He was on like my fantasy team.
Hey brother,
I would
we'll get
watch
there.
him.
We'll get there. that's
Oh man,
that's all good.
that's a bit of a movie.
But yeah, circling back to the Vezenkov thing, he's really fucking
Yeah,
good.
he's
Like
a
getting
Oh
beast,
yeah.
man.
the EuroLeague MVP, basically for nothing, like that's a lot of talent that they just added without giving up anything. So
Oh yeah.
the Kings are a team to watch next season for sure.
Speaking
Oh
of
yeah. That's going to
adding
be a bunch of like
talent,
135 to 130 games.
Oh, I love it. I love
I need
Sacramento
that.
basketball,
I'm
man.
obsessed with it.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of adding talent, I'll let this is your intro, so I'll let you handle it. I just wanted to say we used a real GM like sorting page that tells you every loss and addition this offseason for every team, to kind of keep things organized. And I think the recap for this team this season was about 3 times longer than every other team in the league, just because of the sheer amount of players that were subtracted and added. So that was pretty crazy to kind of diagram, but I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, and I mean this is probably um I mean this is the highlight of the offseason so far, I guess, to me at least, which is the Phoenix Suns adding Bradley Beal in a massive trade in which Chris Paul heads to the Washington Wizards en route to the Golden State Warriors, which is very funny, and we'll get to later. But yeah, Phoenix Suns getting Bradley Beal. two-time All-NBA player, I believe, near scoring champion. I mean, sorry, one-time All-NBA player, three-time All-Star. Um, I mean, a lot of people on social media, a lot of fans, are not a fan of this move for Phoenix, but I love it, dude. I love Bradley Beal. He's one of the premier scorers in the NBA right now, and he brings to Phoenix what they've really lacked for the last two playoff runs, especially, which is rim pressure. I mean, he's one of the premier drivers in the NBA, and he's gonna play point guard for them, and he's had a lot of playmaking duties in Washington since John Wall left. So I think he's perfectly capable of doing that. And yeah, I mean they gained Bradley Beal, losing out on Chris Paul, losing Campaign, who was big for them in that six-man role. But they also acquire Keita Bates-Diop, who Seth, I know you're a fan of.
Yeah.
Big wing defender, can shoot the three, just kind of a versatile all-arounder. So yeah, a lot of positives there. Also getting Eric Gordon and Drew Eubanks. Gordon, who shoots and is old, nice veteran presence, I guess. They get some size with Eubanks. Yeah, all in all, really, really good off seasons for the Suns, I guess. Chris Paul was kind of on his last legs here, and I think that really showed last season and in the playoffs. So I love the Beal acquisition. I think it has the opportunity to really like bring Phoenix to the next level as far as contending teams go.
I think the lack of a real point guard thing that people are, pointing at the as the one hole in this roster, I don't think that's really real. Or at least I don't think it's real to the I don't think it's as big of a deal as some people are making it. They have a lot of guys who can just break down any defense, and again, who have like pretty serious playmaking chops in Book, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant. I don't think it's necessarily the biggest deal. Losing Chris Paul. I mean, earlier in the offseason, we heard reports that they were entertaining declining his option and bringing him back, on like a reduced deal or maybe even like a minimum. At one point, there was that wild day where, was that Shams who reported that he had been waived, or was that Chris Haynes? Someone reported that he had been waived.
I think it was Chris Haynes, yeah.
Yeah, I do think it was Haynes.
All right, so to trade that and a bunch of second round picks and some other stuff that you don't really care about that much in the grand scheme of things for Bradley Beal is crazy. Like you said, one of the premier finishers in this league, rim pressuring guards, which has been a huge problem for them over the years. They have been an excellent team and an excellent offense for years, ever since they got Chris Paul. They lost a lot of games to math because they could not get to the foul line and they weren't generating a ton of threes, and it was just a lot of mid-range attempts, or DeAndre Ayton at his best was this dominant big, but he doesn't really do that a lot. He really prefers to be more like a finesse big. And so you have someone who is going to get to the rim, is going to get free throws, is going to take a high volume of threes, contested or otherwise. And I think one of the more exciting things about this roster is the versatility they have in who they can start. When they got Bradley Beal, to me that basically meant DeAndre Ayton had to be traded for depth, because the only other solution was they go out and get every single free agent that they need for the minimum, a bunch of quality dudes to come in. And I mean, that's exactly what happened.
Kind of what they did, yeah.
Right? It was crazy. I was like, no, DA's gone. And they just went and did it. If you want, if the 3-point shot is real, Keita Bates-Diop is a very good player in this league. And so if you want, more of the length and the defense and the shooting, you can start Keita Bates-Diop. If you need more of a point of attack defender, you have Jordan Goodwin, very underrated, throw in to the Bradley Beal trade. If you want more spacing, you have Eric Gordon or Yuta Watanabe. Is there anyone there that I'm forgetting? They have so many options. Josh Okogie is still there.
Yeah, they brought back Josh Okogie,
who kind of revitalized his career for them last season. So they have so many options for who the fifth starter could be, especially in like a playoff series where matchup versatility is going to be a big thing. Eric Gordon and Yuta Watanabe for the minimum is just like unreal. It's like they really knocked it out of the park as far as like getting guys who fit, because I feel like the last few seasons, with these like big three, I don't want to use the word super team types, but like the downfall has always been the lack of depth. Like in Brooklyn, like, yeah, man, we got Kyrie Irving and James Harden and Kevin Durant, and then one of them goes out and it's like, Mike James, you are our point guard now. Like Tyler Johnson, you are getting minutes in this playoff game. And that's just not a problem I see them having on this team. I even forgot they still have Damian Lee. Like, Bobo's not going to do anything here. That's we don't have to pretend. That's okay. And then obviously the Monty Williams, Drew Eubanks. Like, bro, I'm forgetting people. Like, Drew Eubanks can fill the Jock Landale role very nicely. So it's they just really did everything that they were supposed to do, and it's kind of insane. And that's not even mentioning the Monty Williams relationship has been a little frayed for the past few seasons. And if you were gonna replace the head coach who gave you the most wins in your franchise history, Frank Vogel's a pretty good place to start with that.
Totally agree.
We have a friend who's a beat writer for the Suns, and it's his life to cover this team. And it is his firm belief that if anyone was gonna finally get anything out of DeAndre Ayton, it would probably be Frank Vogel. And I'm inclined to agree with that. Frank Vogel, despite how things ended with the Lakers, is a champion and a very, very quality head coach. So I mean, yeah, really, they knocked it out of the park this season, really.
This is the only A+ on my sheet.
Yep.
I think they killed
Easy.
it. I think they went so crazy, man. The Beal trade, like, beautiful value. They will no longer lose playoff games to not being able to score in Ivica Zubac's paint. That will never happen again. Um, dude, I love it. They gave the Kevin Durant team Udoka Azubuike. No, that's my guy, but um, KVD is like an actual good player in this league that just kind of went for not very much and is just here now. It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
Eubanks is a very quality backup. I mean, we've covered it already. They did such a beautiful job of filling out this bench with like no money. It's it's really not a bad bench. Like the concern of like, oh, what's the depth piece is like, dude, having KVD, Yuta Watanabe, Jordan Goodwin, Drew Eubanks on your bench, this might be like an above average bench for no money. It's incredible. They did such a good job. Vogel signing, I love it. I mean, there's really not much. This is a beautiful off season from Matt Ishbia and his boys. I think if this is how the Suns are going to be run as a franchise, I think I'm really excited to see what they have planned because this was I actually cannot imagine it getting any better for them at all. Like I think this is perfect. If you were a Suns fan and you went to bed, this is what you would dream about. And then when you woke up, if it was real, it would be the most glorious day of your life. Like beautiful work by then.
Yeah. And as an aside, there's been a lot of talk about the Suns having a big three of guys who all do the same thing. They don't all do the same thing.
They
Go-
actually do three different things, I would say.
Go pull up some Bradley Beal highlights right now. I promise you, he doesn't play like Devin Booker. And if you think he plays like Devin Booker, you haven't been paying
And
attention
Devin
to
Booker doesn't play
Washington.
like Kevin Durant either. Like they're three different players that execute different roles. And like just because they all score doesn't mean they're the same player. Like and the way in which they get their buckets and their roles on both the offense and defense are really different, honestly. And KD, of all people, is really famous for being able to fit very well next to other star talent. And just like
As he showed in the playoffs.
He
yeah,
is
and get his beautifully efficient buckets no matter what. Like man, I'm
outside of
excited.
the one field goal attempts at the rim per game. He is probably the most complete player in basketball, or at least in that upper echelon. I really don't see how people could think that there's like too much overlap. But
Yeah, no, like
if
the
people
only
weren't
overlap is that they're all
watching,
really good.
if
Yeah.
people weren't watching the Wizards, I can't say that I blame you, but you should have been watching Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
No,
You didn't want to watch
that's one of the most
tanking
dynamic
Wizards,
drivers in
but
basketball.
he is very fucking good, and he does not play like he's not like a mid-range, like, like only guy. Like, this guy gets to the rim, he draws fouls, and he can play off ball too. So when Book's doing his thing, Katie's doing his thing, he can spot up and hit shots.
Yeah. It's like people forgot that he played next to John Wall for like 6 years and shot 40% from three. I'm like, pretty
Right,
good
like
value.
this guy who for most of his career played with John Wall has suddenly somehow become some ball dominant, needs the ball all the time guy. It's like, that's not him at all.
I've seen a lot of
Man.
discourse about his drop in 3-point percentage since he became the #1 option. If you dive into those stats, every season since he didn't have like a real point guard, his 3-point openness and like shot quality has literally been like in the F percentile, like bottom of the league. And these are not a lot of like quality looks that he's getting. It's a lot of off the dribble, bink bink, step back, like stuff like that. Really not. He has not had the luxury of having players on the court with gravity like Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Even when he had Russell Westbrook that one year, he wasn't really getting looks like that. I see your eyebrows moving. Stop. But like, I mean, he's a knockdown guy when he is given the opportunity, and he's tough off the dribble. I just think he hasn't really gotten to have the luxury of playing next to players like this in a very long time. So
Yeah.
there's
The
really
one thing
not
I will
much
say.
more to say about it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, the one thing I will say about the Suns team going forward, I think when when staggering minutes becomes a bit more problematic, I think they will struggle to find additional playmaking in their bench unit. But I mean, other than that, like, I really can't see any huge weaknesses on this team.
And my answer to that is that I think they have a lot of guys in their bench who can make winning plays without, dribbling in the pick and roll and stuff like that, running an offense. They have a lot of guys on this team who can get deflections. They have a lot of guys on this team who are really athletic and capable rebounders for their position, like Josh Okogie, who can grab a rebound and, really get out and running because they're faster than a lot of the other guys. So I think they have people who don't play make in the traditional sense, but they have guys who can, push the pace and get out in transition and, get deflections, get hands on the balls, and, can kind of make winning plays in other regards other than come set this screen, I'm going to dribble and I'm going to dot the corner. So I don't think it's going to be as bad as maybe people think it will be, but I do see what you're saying. Speaking of things that were bad, the Clippers offseason.
Oh boy. Is there even that much to say about this?
I was gonna say there's
I
not
mean,
much to talk about.
I mean, it's pending, but
Like,
Pending this James Harden nonsense, which
Smash
doesn't
up.
even seem like
Come on.
trading Luke Kennard for old ass Eric Gordon was like fine at the time, but now he's just gone, and now they don't have. They went from having one of the premier 3-point shooters in basketball to having another one of the premier 3-point shooters in basketball to not having anything really close to that now. So that's a little rough. Russ coming back on the MLE is crazy value though. Like if there was anything to make up for that, like say what you want to say about current Russell Westbrook, he looked pretty damn good in a Clippers uniform. Like his impact was certainly there, and now they've had a full offseason really to mesh, and I'm happy for him that he's in a situation where he can just be happy and play basketball without any of the other drama. And some of that was definitely self-inflicted by what was happening on the court, but I'm happy he's in a situation now where he has players around him that he fits, and there is a very tangible impact that he has next to those players. I am really excited about I think it was Ty Lue in an interview recently said that they're going to change the way that they are prioritizing Kawhi Leonard and Paul George's health, where before it was kind of, rest in the early parts of the season, and then, we're really going to kick it on at the end. And he said basically, he thinks they're done with that. They want to make sure that Kawhi and PG are playing as early as they can so they can get off to a good start, and then later in the season they can kind of chill so that they're not having to fight up from the 7th and 8th seed every season. So that excites me. Getting a super athletic guy like KJ Martin adds another wrinkle, something they didn't really have before. So I hope he gets good opportunity. I like the versatility of having Zubac versus Plumlee. I think those minutes can look drastically different depending on who you have on the floor. But again, it's all really pending on the Philly cheesesteak guy, if he is gonna get his way, and we'll talk about that in the Eastern Conference episode more. I gave it like a C plus, pending the trade. If that happens, and you're talking about getting a guy who averaged 21 and 10 last season for Norman Powell, Robert Covington, and Marcus Morris and some other shit, I mean, you're talking about a disgusting team potentially.
Yeah, I mean, the Harden thing is clearly kind of like the Clippers' big offseason thing that they're hoping gets sorted out. Beyond that, with regards to the Russ thing at least, he had probably about as good a 20-game stretch as you could possibly hope for out of him in his career right now. He killed it for the Clippers late in the season, and I say that as a guy who really doesn't rock with Russ like that.
I'd love to hear that from you,
But
especially.
yeah, I mean, if you're a Clippers fan, you hope, pray every night that that continues, because it seems unlikely to me, at least. He kind of played a well above his grades for the last few seasons, but they got to bring him back. He was great for them. Other than that, there's really not much to talk about. Like, Kenyon Martin's probably not going to be a big rotational piece here. They draft Kobe Brown. He's probably not going to get much PT. The big things for the Clippers, as we all know, as everyone knows, it's always health. It always comes back to, how much availability do PG and Kawhi have. And they've shown that when they're both available at the same time, this is a really good team. But that's kind of the make or break thing for them. And, obviously they have the Sixers stuff pending, which is just like a whole bunch of drama. But I mean, otherwise, yeah, it's pretty whatever for the Clippers, I guess.
Kind of hate this, honestly. I'll be honest.
Yo.
Like, the thing is, you're right. Like, when Kawhi and PG are healthy, this is a really good team. I don't think they're a great team. I think even when Kawhi was healthy and PG was playing, and like last season, I will say I was like really high on the minutes Kawhi put in. But even when they had all their best guys on the floor, I don't think they looked like a contender to me. And so what I've seen here in this offseason, James Harden potential trade that's probably not going to happen, notwithstanding, I see a team that's in the tier two, kind of just sitting on its hands and being like, "Oh, we'll run it back and it'll be better this time." And I don't think it's going to be better. I think the Russ performances that were given on both ends of the ball, like, I'm sorry, man, for like 15 games there, he was shooting like 40% from three in the Clippers uniform. That's
That's
never
not
going to happen
normal.
again. The defense he played um, on Devin Booker for like 2 games, that was like the best defense he's played since UCLA. That's not happening. That's not who he is. And Plumlee is fine, but again, like kind of like an outlier stretch that he had this year. This is like one of my least favorite things that teams do, where it's like they don't really have any avenues to get better, and they're not in terms of like internally, right? And they haven't really done anything externally. Like, I kind of hate it. Like, they're good and they'll win games and they'll like contend for stuff. Maybe, I don't know. The Kawhi thing's up in the air, but even if he was healthy, this still feels like a team that, if everything goes right, goes to the conference finals and then bows out, and then their players start to get worse and then they leave. Like, I'm not trying to be a doomer. I actually kind of like the Clippers, but I don't know, dude. When we're talking like on like the grade scale, I'm looking at like a D plus D or something, because I really truly hate when teams sit on their hands, and it feels like this is a Clipper team that cannot afford to do that. If they trade for James Harden, beautiful, they'll do it. But until then,
I mean, if they trade for James Harden, everything we just said is moot. Russell
no,
Westbrook
yeah, that would be awesome,
becomes
but
a
I don't think
backup, and
that's
they're
going to
instantly
happen.
a tier one contender.
I don't think they're going to trade for him. And what are you left with? You're left with 30. 5-ish-year-old Russell Westbrook running the point. This first step is going to decline the half a step as it does every year. Um, Still has the weird shooting, the weird inconsistent effort. Batum's cool, I guess, but Zubac is man. I'm not looking forward to this because I feel like the Clippers are not going to be the best next year, and this past year might be like best they are for a while unless something really different happens.
I think this is their last year to like really do something. I think at this point, the front
Yeah,
office is probably done sitting on their hands about it. I mean, realistically, maybe it should have been this season.
it should have
But
been.
I think, especially knowing, who Steve Ballmer is and how much money he puts into the team every year and how like invested that guy is into the success of the team. I think the complacency that they've shown has been, an attempt to be very reserved and have patience and wait and see if the roster that they put together really comes to fruition. I think this is the last year where they say that they're going to wait. I think after this year, especially because if things don't go the way you want this year, Nick Batum said he's retiring after the Olympics in 2024. Russell Westbrook is not going to take another pay cut if you guys aren't on shit this year. You have a bunch of other older guys who look like they're kind of losing things. Like Robert Covington is not the player he was even like 2 seasons ago, really. Like you said, there's just not a lot there outside of like their core, for the future. Like the improvement really can't come from anywhere else unless you think you can fire Ty Lue and go get someone better. But I don't really see that being, the key either. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, again, all of this could just be out the window in 3 days, if James Harden ends up on this team. But
I don't see it.
this
I
this
don't
is
see it.
probably their last year before we see one of PG and Kawhi, or maybe even both, in another uniform.
Well, they don't really have much of a choice about it. I mean, they've both got their
Contracts run
player
out.
options. Yeah, they both got their player options coming up after the season. So this is quite literally their last little run at this. I mean, regardless of what happens, short of them, I don't know, like making the finals or some crazy, I don't see them being extended. That seems unlikely to me. So I mean, this is what they got.
I could see Kawhi
And,
Leonard getting
you know, figure
extended.
it out.
I could see Kawhi Leonard getting extended. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Well, I
On
mean,
it's
another
tough, man.
max, I don't know.
well, I mean, neither of them
It's
are just gonna like decline their options and leave or anything because I don't think there's any teams that either of them could go to as free agents that they really care about. So
No, I don't see them declining their options, but I don't think either of them would be Clippers after this season, pending something unforeseen,
Yeah.
really.
it's tough. This has been one of the coolest teams for a while. In theory, like you look at their roster to start every season, and most people before every season look at the Clippers and say, "This is the deepest or one of the deepest teams in basketball." They have so many crazy players who can all play and like do several things, and it's just never really been there. Unfortunately, the best run was that Western Conference Finals run without Kawhi, and really not a ton of success outside of that.
speaking of things I hate. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man. So the Golden State Warriors, the 6th seed. I'm gonna start off being nice. Um, Trace Jackson Davis, 57. That's cool value. He could have gone the first round in some iteration to the draft. I like him. His fit there is really interesting. He a 6'8" forward who never shot a three in 4 years of college. I love it. But like a cool defender, strong athlete, can rebound, finish inside. Maybe they can make use of him there. Brandon Pajemski is a interesting kind of guy. I like playmaker, guard, a bit slow on defense, but he's got like creativity. He's got a nice handle, great stroke.
Shoots the
Um,
shit out of the ball.
he does shoot really well. That's Santa Clara, man. All right, that's it. The Jordan Poole Chris Paul trade is like one of the worst things I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Not just in basketball, but in like all aspects of life. I think if I'm a Warriors fan that day, I'm like, listen, man, there are Lakers jerseys everywhere already. You might as well. Like, it's, dude, Jordan Poole, I know he had a bad season and a bad series, but you're talking about a dude who was absolute dynamite in 2021, 22, and even this past year, he really wasn't that bad. Like when you talk about Jordan Poole, one of the biggest drawbacks people harp on is, oh my God, he's a chucker. Wow, total chucker, awful shot selection, can't find the bottom of the basket. Jordan Poole was like 50th percentile true shooting last year on a really hard shot diet. A lot of it was created himself. Like this is a dude who can score. He can make his own looks. He can create. He's got a crazy handle. Like, oh my God, the space creation is out of this world. He adds such an element of dynamism to your offense that is now replaced with Chris Paul, who can only really stress a defense by snake dribbling into a contested mid range off a pick and roll. Like, it's not the one, man. It's not the one. Like, he cannot drive past anyone anymore. Chris Paul is not pressuring the rim to save his life. Not really good on defense anymore. He's slow. He's old. I really just hate it for them. I think this is a huge overreaction trade. It might have been a locker room thing. It might have been a Draymond chemistry thing. If that's the case, sure, I get it. But I think you just hemorrhage so much value for one of your best players for what? Like Jordan Poole is like all of that aside, that he's like Jordan Poole is at absolute least like an average starter in this league, probably above average. And you can like he can get better as well. What is Chris Paul gonna do for this team, man? Like,
I would hope it's not a Draymond chemistry thing because they just brought in another Draymond chemistry thing.
Well,
dude, it's Chris Paul. Oh my God, you're gonna trade a guy Draymond Green hates for Chris Paul. Dude, Draymond Green could write a book on how much he dislikes that guy. And like, man, I am just so sad because I really love the way Jordan Poole fits on this team. He gives them like an extra like dude who can create and has juice with the ball. He's got some like really crazy wiggle. And when Steph isn't in the game, that's kind of something you need. And Chris Paul just doesn't have that anymore. Like he racks up assist numbers off of sheer volume because he can't create a lot of the time. Like he sees a guy in front of him and it's kind of just reps. Like he's not pressuring the rim. He's not stretching a defense. He's not playing very good defense. I know Poole's not a good defender either, but dude, I think Jordan Poole is currently better than Chris Paul. And he will probably get better, and Chris Paul will definitely get worse and then leave. Man, this is like something has to have gone on because this is some of the worst asset management I've ever seen.
Well,
It's really
we know
brutal.
exactly what went on.
yeah.
Yeah, no, we know, but dude, this is not good. This is a bad trade. This is a horrible trade. Jordan Poole is a good basketball player that is better than Chris Paul at basketball right now and will continue to be that way for the foreseeable future. And he's younger. I, I hate it. I hate it so much.
So Steve Kerr
Yeah.
said after the Lakers series that if Draymond Green is not back, then they are not a championship team. And I'm inclined to agree, and that if you were going to trade one of them, I think trading Jordan Poole was proper. I did not like who he got traded for.
Sure, yeah.
But I will play
Prefer
devil's
someone better.
I will play devil's advocate a little, and Chris Paul I think alleviates some issues that the Warriors have year over year. It's a pretty universal complaint that they don't run enough pick and roll. You would like to see it more with Steph Curry. I think it's more the complaint that Steph doesn't get enough reps in the pick and roll as the ball handler. But year over year, the Warriors are always in pretty much the bottom of the league in pick and rolls ran a game, overall free throw attempts, and non-shooting fouls drawn. Chris Paul led teams are usually the best team at all three of those things, or at least in like the top 5 in all 3 of those categories every year. So he alleviates some of that, and I don't think he has to be necessarily hidden more than Jordan Poole on defense. You could probably make an argument Jordan Poole was one of the worst defenders in all of basketball last season. So I don't think the hiding Chris Paul thing is, particularly worse than with Jordan Poole. I think the off the court stuff is probably the biggest obstacle because, like you said, Draymond Green is very well documented as having a deep, fiery dragon's heart hatred for Christopher Emmanuel Paul. And from the interviews that we've seen so far, it doesn't really seem like Chris Paul is ready to buy into this sixth-man role. He's kind of had the Carmelo Anthony, they want me to come off the bench response. And
Difference is Melo would have been playing behind like Andre Roberson or something. Chris Paul's playing behind Steph Curry.
No, yeah,
Yeah, like you better
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 tighten
get it
up.
through your head, bro. You are not like oh
I
boy.
think in his head they can start together and start Draymond at the 5 or have Wiggins or Clay come off the bench. It's which I don't agree,
No.
I don't agree with any of that. I don't think anyone agrees with that except him and maybe his wife. And so I don't really I don't see how he thinks that's like gonna play out in his favor. Like all the interviews that we've seen so far, when people ask him about coming off the bench, he's basically just been like, "Oh, you know, we're gonna
Figure it out.
We're gonna figure it out. You know, we'll see what happens." And it's like, "Hey, buddy, you might be the only one who doesn't know."
No, man. But I don't even think his wife's gonna say that. He's probably sitting there complaining. She's like, "Honey, that's the unanimous MVP. You better get the fuck on." Like,
How crazy is it that
that's.
was that his daughter or his son? One of his kids got teased at school. I think
his daughter.
I think his
Yeah.
daughter got teased at school for him being bad in the playoffs.
That's tough,
I
man.
feel so
That
bad
would kind of break me. I feel
his
bad for him.
children because
I don't think he's that
Man.
good anymore. But that stinks. That's tough.
his poor daughter's gonna.
I feel bad for Russ's kids.
His poor daughter's gonna.
Oh
get
my god,
lit the
but he's
fuck
such a good
up at
father, bro.
school.
I'd be really.
Man,
Oh man.
that's tough. Well, but yeah, I don't know.
If there's one thing I'm gonna say about this Warriors thing, I hope Chris Paul hits back.
We have
That's all I
tape.
got,
We have
because-
tape of him hitting back.
Yeah,
No,
I
Chris
mean-
Paul seems like he would like scratch or something. You know what I mean? Or slap.
I mean, it's just crazy how this whole situation has played out from that very epic moment, that epic gamer moment by Draymond.
Epic gamer
Oh
moment.
my
That's
God.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Jordan Poole, and I mean, we were watching the playoffs together 2 years ago. Like, he was dynamite, man. Like, Steph Curry left the floor, and this kid just came on playing like Steph Curry, doing Steph Curry shit, shooting the ball from like 38 feet away.
And that is
And-
one thing I will say about this. Sorry to cut you off. I will say one thing about this. The biggest Achilles heel of this team the last few seasons has been that when Steph comes out of the game, they're just not getting anything from Kuminga, anything from Moses Moody, and really any of the young guys. And if there's anyone, you know, I feel like this is a pretty pivotal year for all of those guys. Wiseman, you know, before he got traded.
Yep.
I feel like if there was going to be a player they can bring in to, you know, extract every little bit that they can out of Kuminga and Moody, it would probably be Chris Paul. You know, if anyone's going to get these guys in a position to succeed, it's probably him.
What is this? His OKC 2.0 arc? He's just gonna do it with the Warriors bench this time.
Well, you know, Moses Moody is no Dennis Schroeder. He's really not even a oh fuck. who else?
Jonathan Kuminga is certainly no Danilo Gallinari. I'll tell you that right
No.
now.
Oh boy.
So, but I don't know. I think that could be a little. I gave it like a C minus. It's a very
Yeah, I've got the Warriors at a D plus. I mean, we didn't even mention this the whole time we've been talking, but they also lost Dante DiVincenzo. Who's
Oh
fucking
my
damn
God.
good.
Oh boy.
phenomenal.
It's actually never been more over.
Yeah,
Um,
this is
I gave him like a D.
I
tough.
wrote.
Yeah, I got him at the D plus.
I wrote at the end of my write-up for this, there is potential for this group to be quite good, and there is also potential for this team to be, in all caps, very, very fucking funny.
They're
Yeah.
gonna be funny, all right, man.
This
Well,
might be...
we're,
No,
we're
dude,
definitely getting some good moments. This is what NBA fans love. This is the NBA soap opera at work right here. Like,
Dude.
it doesn't get
Oh
better
my
than this.
God.
This might be the funniest team in basketball this season.
Yeah,
Bro,
I'm
if they
excited.
get into one bench argument, Twitter's over. It's finished. It's
Oh,
it's
man, I
never
love
been
it.
more cooked.
All right, who we got next? Oh,
It's you and the Lake Show.
the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, I don't know. Reading the Lakers off-season moves, like it seemed like they did a lot, but they also didn't really do much at all. Like a lot of guys gone and a lot of guys came in, I don't really see like what the difference is. It just felt like what they did a year ago, bringing in like Lonnie Walker and all these guys, and just like I don't know, they're just guys who are gonna play, not really too good, not too terrible, I guess. But losing Schroeder's gonna hurt. He was pretty cool for them last season. Lonnie Walker was all right sometimes. Malik Beasley kind of stunk. Uh, and they got younger for sure. They got Jalen Hood-Schifino in the draft, who we know Connor's a fan of. Max
Max
Lewis,
Lewis.
who some other people are fans of.
Colin Castleton, baby. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Colin
While we're
Castleton,
here.
Alex Fudge, undrafted guys. The big, he's kind of small. But I guess their big move this offseason is getting Gabe Vincent. He's like probably the best guy that they got.
Uh,
And he's Gabe Vincent.
he's so inconsistent. He's like the most mercurial player in the league, next to all the other Heat players that
But
do that thing.
next to maybe one of the more mercurial players in the league, Cam
Oh
Reddish, who
no.
the Lakers also got.
Oh, don't
Uh,
forget D'Angelo Russell. We just have some on-off players all the time, and not like on-off the stat, but like they are on and then they are
On
off.
a
yeah, I mean them.
back-to-back, this team has the potential to score 195 points in regulation one night and 74 the next night.
Yeah, I mean them bringing back D'Lo is, I guess, like their big thing because I mean he was good for them, all things considered. So I mean that's cool. They brought back D'Lo. He's been good. They um kept Austin Reeves. He's good.
Can we
Reeves' contract is great.
Can we
Yeah.
talk about the industry planting happening, where I am seeing reports that Austin Reeves was there were franchises like the Spurs and some other places considering 4 years, 100 million. Like we do not have to lie to ourselves. I I think they got him for great value. I think that's about as much money as he should be making, maybe even a little bit less. I just that was such strange like reports coming out that people were talking about 20 million for Austin Reeves. I was like,
Yeah.
is there something I'm not seeing here?
I think 20 is fine. 25 is a little crazy for like 100 million, man. Austin Reeves it's not rolling off the tongue that great.
If Dylan Brooks, I
Um,
can see 20 because if Dylan Brooks can get 20, I think Austin Reeves can pretty comfortably
Yeah, I
get
mean
20.
I
I'd
think
probably
20 is fine. I think like 17, 18 is like his sweet spot in terms of value because he's quite good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you really like Austin Reeves on that 18 million.
Mhm.
12 million,
Mhm.
he's fucking fantastic. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's a great
That's great value.
great extension for them.
yeah,
But I mean, otherwise they're
mean-
still just the Lakers, man.
I didn't. I'm a little surprised to hear you say that. I actually really like their offseason a lot. Obviously
it's the Cam Reddish debuff.
Yeah, the Cam Reddish thing's really not doing
The-
it for me.
if-
I did skip over Torian Prince, who had a pretty cool year in Minnesota. I
If
guess.
you thought the Russell Westbrook and Lakers fan base intersection was toxic, boy, do I have something for you in the Cam Reddish believers ex Los Angeles
Oh
Lakers.
Jesus!
Oh my god.
Christ.
Twitter will be, I mean, most of them are the same people, and so I think they're in for a pretty rude awakening, but Twitter is going to be on fire this season. Another team that has pretty big funny potential. But no, I mean, you could argue that Dennis Schroeder and Gabe Vincent are, good at different things, but in like the same tier of player. And I think Gabe Vincent, what he showed in the playoffs, a couple seasons now, being able to come in and start and have these like flamethrower type performances. I think he, if you were going to lose Dennis Schroeder for him to go to another team, I think getting Gabe Vincent back is really good in that scenario. Torian Prince is a very quality role. This is not a guy who you really get on the MLE. He's a quality wing, fill the position of need. I don't think anybody's going to cry over losing Malik Beasley and Lonnie Walker. And getting Torian Prince in to fill that is pretty nice. Love Jalen Hood-Schifino. Don't really need to spend more time talking about him. I mean, I just think he's great. I'm not going to talk about Cam Reddish. I'm not going to do that. That's all good. Getting Jackson Hayes is the exact type of player, though, that they should be, taking a flyer on with the position that their franchise is in.
Yeah.
He just never really quite fit in New Orleans, and I don't know if he's going to fit here, but you know, it's worth a shot, and you know, I think that's something that they had to do. Extending Anthony Davis is good. He is now under contract past the perceived LeBron era. I don't know if I really believe in the passing of the torch that people have been saying for quite a few seasons now, but you know, if he is ever gonna do that, he will be under contract now. He will play for that team after LeBron is gone, so that's nice. And yeah, I mean, I think they got really good value on the contracts that they gave out to D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, and Austin Reeves. And you know, what is D'Lo on, a 2-year with a player option?
Something like that.
Let's see.
I'm pretty sure it's 2 years, 36 million with a player option on the second year.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mostly
Uh,
agree. It's like the
Yeah,
what
2
was it?
years, 35. I don't see a player option.
I mean, that's fine if he can rehab for that season he had, especially how he was in Minnesota before he got here. Like, that's cool. I like their funny cast of characters around their main guys is probably better on average than it was last year. I love the Reeves contract. Max Lewis, Jalen Hood-Schifino, let's do it. I guess like E minus ish. Like it's a cool offseason. They didn't do anything crazy, but I think they retained their guys well. I think they upgraded
I
around their guys in an efficient manner.
I
That's really all you need.
I gave it an A minus. I know that might seem a little high, but
Wow.
I think they just added very quality players like across the board. Like there's nobody other than, you know, he who shall not be named. I don't think there's anybody here who I'm looking at and I'm like, yeah, they're, you know, they kind of took a step back at that position. I think they just filled out really nicely with
I think
talent.
Gabe Vincent's definitely a step back from Dennis Schroeder. I think Gabe Vincent's pretty uh just widely overrated, like, which is crazy to say because Gabe Vincent, but like I think people look at, like, you know, key playoff games that he's had and think that he's like a bit of a different guy than he might really be. Overall, he's not a very good player. Jackson Hayes is pretty bad. I honestly can't really see him finding a spot in this rotation, honestly. I don't think he'll play a lot. Bringing back D'Lo and Rui and them is good. I mean, Torian Prince, he's all right, but I see him as more replacement value for like Troy Brown and Lonnie Walker, and really, it's like, I don't know.
It's just a revolving door of guys who are
Yeah,
all
they're
right.
just
Like
they've done that one
I think
before. I
he's
don't really
better.
see him
I
being.
think he's quite a bit better than all 3 of the wings they lost.
I don't.
I don't either, really.
And that's and I watched him drive. What was it like 7
Bro.
threes on our team?
Dude, he had the game against us. I should know more than anyone. Hold on, let me find the game because
The
he
game
did
of his
something
life.
I've never seen
It was like
anyone
8 of
do.
8 from three, right?
Yes,
Bulls
8 for
versus
8 from
Knicks at the
3.
Garden. It was huge.
Let's see.
There's like a whole stat of it. Was it at the Garden? I don't know if it was. It might have been.
Yes, it was at the Garden. He had 35 points on 12 for 13 from the field, 8 of 8 from 3.
I think you guys
I
are
don't
just
think Steph
salty.
Curry has ever done that to us.
I think you guys are just a little bit hurt over that.
Listen,
okay.
man. Lonnie Walker's gone off against our team too. All right, I know what these guys can do.
Has he?
I think so.
I don't
a lot of people go off against our team. It's hard to keep track.
I don't want to gas.
Yeah, I
up,
know, but does Lonnie Walker have that move?
I don't want to gas up Torian Prince to just be this like super insane
He's
OP.
he's
like,
a nice player, but I don't
contributing
really
role
see him
player.
as being like a huge upgrade over the wings they lost. To me,
just
they're
Yeah, like I think
more or
Troy
less the
Brown
same.
Jr. is like fine. Like
I think
they're
he's
all
very
guys who are
solid.
gonna like teeter on the edge of like playoff viability, and that's kind of where they're at.
Malik Beasley could not defend. Lonnie Walker could not really defend and was pretty inconsistent, even though he had more, you know, shot creation upside than Torian Prince did. And Troy Brown Jr., you know, is just to me like diet Torian Prince.
Yes.
I think Torian Prince is just maybe it was a bit much to say quite a bit better, but I think he's just better than all 3 of those players by, you know, at least.
I don't know. You're talking about like diet for a drink that has like 3 grams of sugar. You know what I mean?
Holy
Like-
shit!
Oh boy.
Oh, good.
What's next?
Timberwolves.
8.
Oh, and
Yeah,
one more
Wolves.
thing
Oh,
with the
gee.
Lakers, I will say, sorry, just really quickly. I'm very happy that, you know, Rob Pelinka seems to have learned his lesson and did not fall for the Kyrie Irving bait this time.
That's true.
I'm really happy they did not do the thing where they trade, 2/3 of their roster for one player and then are running a bunch of minimum guys. So, I'm pretty happy about that. But yeah, Timberwolves. Not the most active offseason, but I think, in my opinion, I think the Karl Anthony Towns era is probably coming to a head very soon in Minnesota. They're at the point where, because of the Rudy Gobert trade and how depleted their assets are, and Rudy was not as bad as people thought he was, but his perceived value is so low now, you can't really trade him and get anything back. You're certainly not trading Anthony Edwards. Karl Anthony Towns is the only intersection of actually having value on this team and something that we could live without having. Because Cat is a very, very, very good player, but he has his deficiencies that have prevented the Wolves from building a quality, consistent playoff team around him. I think this is Anthony Edwards' team now, and I think Karl Anthony Towns is just the next thing of value that you can trade and get back, meaningful pieces to compete with, rather. So I don't think this team is going to look the same. It could be as soon as this deadline. I would say probably closer to next season. But that's all prediction. Let's talk about things that they actually did. I love Leonard Miller. You guys know. I think Leonard Miller is a really, really cool prospect. I think he's gonna find a role here pretty nicely. Exchanging Jalen Noel for Shake Milton is a very slight upgrade, but a welcome one. Shake Milton is a quality backup player. Troy Brown Jr. on the wing, to supplement Taurean Prince. It's something Graham Sugar. I don't know. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had a pretty decent stretch to end the season last year, and especially in the playoffs, he looked like he really started to figure it out and have a nice role here as like a 3-and-D point of attack type guy, and so that's pretty nice if he can come along and be like a meaningful rotation player. The Naz Reid extension is very, very nice. I made a lot of jokes at the end of last season when I thought they were not going to bring him back, saying that someone's basketball team, not the Timberwolves, was going to have the privilege of paying Naz Reid this offseason. And they paid him, and I'm happy because he's really cool. Naz Reid is a very cool and talented player.
Yeah, he is. I think he's a good example for Leonard Miller as well, the kind of player they want him to be.
Absolutely. I don't think they lost anything crazy that they care about too much. I think this season they're really just betting on a full season of Cat being healthy. We have Mike Conley now. We've had him for a full off season, and he really helped. His game manager skills really helped integrate Rudy into the team better. Jaden McDaniels every year has just gotten better and better in ways that people did not even project. His skills to improve, and so that's gonna be fun. And just from everything we've seen from Anthony Edwards in FIBA, and if you look year over year, his numbers have improved in a pretty meaningful way. I think we're due for a really big Anthony Edwards season here. I'm talking all-star lock. Every year is his points per game, his efficiency, his skills on the basketball court. He really, at the end of last season, started to become a lot more comfortable as a pick and roll ball handler and not a turnover machine. I think it's his team now, and I think he's gonna look damn good. But they didn't really do a lot, so I'm just gonna say C+ for now. Tentative on if the Karl Anthony Towns relationship is gonna be a thing going forward.
Yeah. Feels like a bit of a run back for the Wolves here, honestly, because they missed Cat for the whole season. They get Shake Milton, gives them a bit more bench scoring and some extra guard play. Bring back Naz Reid is good. He was great for them last year. Other than that, not a ton to talk about besides Leonard Miller. I mean, he killed it in the G League, so you hope that he's able to transfer some of that to the league. Beyond that, if you're a Wolves fan, kind of got to hope Ant takes that leap that everyone thinks he's already taken. Because there's otherwise not much improvement here on the off-season front. You're really looking forward to Ant coming along, Cat and Rudy working out in the way that it didn't really work out at the start of the season. I think Conley's going to help with that, considering D'Lo was like particularly bad for the Wolves, unlike he's been for the Lakers.
I think D'Lo was just a bad point guard for them. Like Mike Conley. Mike
Yeah.
Conley is.
Oh no, I liked him though last year. I think he was kind of
No,
killing it
he was
over
a
there.
very
He was
good
alright.
player. He was a very good player for them. I just think Mike Conley, like what Mike Conley does, fits them better. Even though he's definitely the worst player. I think
Yeah, I get it.
I still think
I think when it
D'Lo's-
comes to running offense, D'Lo has a lot of deficiencies as far as
yeah.
decision making. I mean, he had a good year, a better year than he's had in a long time. But yeah, I think Conley's just a much better fit, especially given like how many offensive options they have as it stands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean. He's not as much like a general. He's more adept at creating his own shot than shots for others, and that's
Yeah.
not quite what they need on a team with Ant and Cat.
Yeah.
I like, man, this is another team where they're not. I mean, I love Leonard Miller. I think that alone makes this like a positive, but they're kind of just like hanging out and being like, all right, let's see. And it's like, okay, whatever. Like they're not doing much. They're not going to do much this year on like the standings, I don't think, unless Anthony Edwards turns into like a fiery supernova that like annihilates the entire league or something. But like realistically, he's going to be like maybe a top 30 player, vaguely. Um, uh, it's it's looking weird. Yeah, Cat kind of just feels like the odd piece out, not even just in terms of talent, but like I actually really like um the way Rudy fits in next to basically every other player on their roster that isn't Carl Anthony Towns on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, Rudy
Just because
fits
he
the
is like
team.
that generational floor raiser on defense. Like we even when Cat was there, like we have seen it in spurts, like in the playoffs, we saw him like do stuff to Jokic that basically no one does, like to OKC that like almost no single player is capable of. Like I like him there. I like Ant there. I love J Mac. He's so good. Um it's Cat, man. It's just weird. And I think it's just gonna be weird and they're not gonna be able to do much until they do something about him. Like or it's tough. I really like Cat, but I think he's like the original for this squad, and he is just so clearly the piece that needs to go in my head. And
He
it's like even it's like go where, like who's gonna like be paying big bucks for him?
he has two of the biggest deficiencies that you can have in his position. You really can't be a big man in this league who can't defend. It's very difficult. Like even Jokic had to like find his own ways to kind of contribute. And Karl Anthony Towns certainly is not anywhere close to the offensive supernova that Jokic is. To kind of make up
Yeah.
for that. And also for someone with his usage rate, he can't really pass like that, and he's a turnover machine.
I don't think that's fair. I think Cat's a pretty good passer for his position. Like he's a really this past season, notwithstanding, like Cat is like a very high percentile driver for a big, and like he's got like a good amount of like hook arounds and like lay downs and stuff. Like he can make the passes. It's just that's not always how he's used. And like I don't know. I still like him as a passer. I don't think that's my biggest issue with him, but it's the defense, like you said, and it's not just that he can't defend, it's that he is so versatile in the ways that he can't defend. Like that's like kind of crazy
I have
hating, but like
never heard that
No,
before.
but that's actually very accurate because we've seen on this Wolves team, and they have him at the 5. He can't defend the rim at all, pretty much.
yeah, and then they had him
And
at the
now
4 and he just
they have
get
him at the
cooked on
4.
perimeter.
He gets
And
blown
like
by all the time, and
and like
it's
he
just
can't jam passing lanes or
Yep.
he doesn't choose to or he's just generally unaware off the ball. Like every facet of defense that you would like care about for an NBA player, he's just like not good. He's like so versatile in how like unfortunately not good he is. Like he
he
can't
doesn't even
chase
have good
guys off the
hands. He's not
ball
getting
at all. He
deflections.
dude, bad hands, can't like doesn't really tag guys very well in like pick and roll, can't stay in front. You have your coverages are so limited because of him, like his movement patterns, his lateral quickness. He's not you're not running a drop with him because he's not doing anything to deter shots at the rim or lobs or like It's like he's just like this catch-22 on that side of the ball, and it's really tough.
I don't want to
Um,
say it would be fine. It would be negligible at the very least if he couldn't defend, but was also not just fouling every single person on the court and all of their families. Like,
oh man,
like the amount of games where he's just not available in the last few minutes because he's fouled out, or he ends up playing like 26, 25 minutes in a game that they lose by 10 points because he racked up fouls early. I don't think, obviously it's never good to be as bad of a defender as he is, but I think some of it would be negligible if he was just getting blown by, or people were just finishing over him and stuff like that, or around him. It's the fact that he's doing all that and he's fouling, so then he can't even be on the floor, to contribute on the one end that he is good at. That really just kind of messes him up. I just think he needs to be somewhere else, and because Rudy fits with this team, he does not fit with Karl Anthony Towns, which to me means
I guess the thing
Karl
is,
Anthony
where is the
Towns does not
somewhere
fit with this
else?
team. I don't
Like,
know.
what is the place that fits the Karl Anthony Towns skill set,
Twitter
Um,
would love for it to be our team. I know that.
Man, get the fuck out of here. Let's what is it? Pelicans? Man,
Uh,
I'm not here to talk
Karl
about cat in the
Anthony
garden.
Towns, you are a Charlotte Hornet. That feels right. That feels like a very Hornets
Well, you just
thing
like
to do.
never want to see him again. I mean, that's cool, I
That
guess.
just feels like a Hornets thing to do, no?
I guess.
Yeah,
It
I
was.
mean,
Is
I
this
don't know.
Pelly's here?
Yeah, we talked for a
I
while about a really mid team. It's the Pels now.
Man, that didn't even do anything. What are we doing, guys? We have time shit. Okay, the Pelicans. I'm gonna keep it short because another team. This I think this might be the team that actually did the least.
did
Like
the
they
least.
actually
I
did
was
not
gonna
do
say.
shit.
They did not do a
So
fucking thing.
which I love that for me because this prep was like a half a paragraph. Hey, they extended Herb Jones. That's really cool. Jordan Hawkins is a really good shooter. That's fun. I hope he's a good fit on this team. Um, they lost Jackson Hayes to the Lakers and like Willie Hernan Gomez is unsigned. I don't know,
Who
dude. This
cares?
team is just fucking weird. Trey Murphy's really cool. You guys want to talk about Trey Murphy? Like,
I
they didn't do
What is?
anything, man.
the big highlight for this offseason for the Pelicans is that EJ Liddell is coming off his ACL tear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know what? That is kind of big,
That's my
honestly, because
guy.
he was like mocked like mid to late first before like people like the medicals came up really bad, and then he like promptly got very hurt.
Mhm.
I'm excited for him. I think he could be cool, but like I haven't seen anything from him, and it's like we need to see what that looks like
Yeah,
first.
I mean we're so
This is
far removed
mostly
from seeing anything from him.
Yeah, this is mostly just like a dev season. Like, hey, is Trey Murphy like really that good? Like, let's see how good he can do. Let's watch Dyson Daniels defend. Zion, I hope you play. Like, I don't I it's I don't know, man. The Pelicans are in a weird spot, and like they're good. They'll make the playoffs probably. And like Trey Murphy will be good, and Herb Jones will defend, and Jonas Valanciunas will like get blown by but get rebounds. Um, I don't know. They didn't do anything.
The
They're
Herb
not.
Jones
They're.
extension is pound for pound probably one of the best contracts in basketball, especially if he can. I don't think he's going to really anytime soon, but I mean that's dirt cheap value for a guy who has all defensive chops, and if he can ever figure out the jump shot, at least make it serviceable, that is really one of the best contracts that you can hope to get out of that. Um, it is a little unfortunate. I think this team's OnlyFans budget was probably larger than what they spent in free agency. So that's a little unfortunate, but you know. it's okay.
Oh man.
Oh boy.
Is Zion gonna play?
Yeah. I sure hope so,
Maybe.
man. He's really fun.
I hope so, bro. That he's so good. He's like a top 15-ish player in the league when he's healthy, and like Brandon Ingram's really good, and Larry Nance Jr. is good for when JV gets played off the floor. But and I don't know. They're a team. They have problems. They have cool young players. They didn't do anything. Let's just move on.
I
Honestly,
Moving
I love
on.
the Pelicans, but like there's just if you are looking for analysis on off-season moves, there are no off-season. There is nothing here for you.
Yeah,
I'm so
they didn't do
sorry.
shit.
All
All
right,
right.
moving on.
But sure
We
is.
have the
OKC,
Yes, sir.
a
Oklahoma
real
City
team,
Thunder.
Also,
a real team who
not
did
really
stuff.
a lot to talk about here, but cool stuff.
I think
Yeah.
there's some stuff to talk about. We talked about it on draft day. We're all big Case and Wallace fans.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hoping he's gonna be great here. They got a couple role player vet guys in that the whole clusterfuck of a trade. They ended up with Bertans, Oladipo, Garuba. None of these guys are really big movers for the Thunder, I don't think. Kind of
It's the
filler
Chet
guys.
Holmgren season.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, the big things for me for the Thunder here are Chet Holmgren coming back. He's gonna play. He's great. I mean,
Dude, he's
he's
so
just
sick.
he's really tall, blocks a lot of shots. He's kind of, diet Wemby before Wemby came around. He's cool, so we hope he's good. Hoping for improvements from Giddy, Jalen Williams. Shea is Shea, obviously he's like a top 20 guy, top 15 guy even. Big addition for me for the Thunder is Serbian stud Vasilije Micic. Is that how you say his name?
Vasily Micic.
Vasily Micic.
Oh yes, actually, good point.
Former EuroLeague MVP, two-time EuroLeague champion, I think. He's he's got pedigree.
He's
He's a
intriguing.
vet.
He's very intriguing,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Something that this Thunder team has been lacking is veteran play, like players who can play on the court, and he can certainly do that. He's cool. So I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
hope that works out for them.
I gave them an A-.
Honestly, their offseason is just successful by the virtue of like they have a bunch of young dudes who are getting better and they selected a good player and they got like cool stuff coming in. It's just fine. Like we're at the point in like the standings, right? Where if you're like just kind of like sitting in like or specifically with the Thunder, they have such a crazy base of talent and like accrued draft capital that they can just like hang out,
Yeah,
right?
that's something.
Right now,
That's something important that we didn't really mention at the start, but these grades are relative, like to where a team is. So an A for or an A plus for the Suns is not the same as I'm not giving them an A plus. But if I gave the Thunder an A plus, like those are different. Like obviously the Thunder did not do nearly as much, but to me they did all the things that they should do as a team in like the rebuilding stage where they're currently at. They took in the Davis Bertans contract and got more picks. I mean, fuck if they needed more, but that's something that they did. They drafted very well in getting Cason Wallace. They got this Vasily Micic guy to come over, and they got vets. They got some cool vets. Victor Oladipo as a vet on this team is so cool. I love that.
yeah.
I love that for them.
Yeah, it's like an A minus offseason. They didn't even have to
Yeah.
do that much, but I think what they did was perfect.
Yeah.
Yep, what they did was good, and Chet Holmgren's coming back, and he's a good player. And they
Dude,
just
he's
now-
so sick. I'm so ready.
They have their team.
Oh my God, you guys are never going to hear the end of this Chet Holmgren guy when I get on the mic. Oh man,
Speaking of
oh man.
good drafts, we are skipping the
Oh,
Dallas Mavericks.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, thank God.
I mean, I think I gave them a B. Retaining Kyrie Irving, kind of was gonna make or break what they did this offseason. So, that's good. For now, yeah, we really haven't seen him stay in one spot to the end of a deal in quite a while. So, take that as it were. But for now, he's on the team. Did not like Derek Lively. We talked our ears off, people's ears off about the Derek Lively pick. It's
Something. Put back.
yeah, the left hand and the right hand. Hey, check out the shorts.
Oh boy.
Check out the shorts if you missed that. I think Omax is cool, but there's kind of a limit to what he can contribute this year. I think Rashawn Holmes is gonna be better here, though. I think he's gonna be pretty solid for them. Like I said when we were talking about the Kings, I just don't think he really thrived in the fast-paced offense that the Kings implemented, and the Mavericks are, particularly when Luka's on the floor, one of the slower teams in basketball. And I think Rashawn Holmes can thrive in a slower system because he doesn't really have the quickest processing speed. But what he's good at, he's pretty good at, as far as finishing plays and playing in the dunker spot, around the rim, and setting good screens, and then on the other end, defending the rim pretty well. So I think he's going to be a lot better here. I think he's going to be better than what he has been the last few seasons. I'm not saying he's going to be, this crazy contributor, but it's like a quality backup center. He might start some nights, depending on how Dwight Powell is doing. I think he'll be okay here.
Thankfully for the Mavericks, they don't really need a crazy guy at center. They just need a guy, and Rashawn Holmes is certainly a guy who can play center.
I think he's cool.
So that's good for them. He's I especially liked him to like 2021 in
Yeah.
Sacramento. He had a great year.
I just think
So
as the pace over there has increased exponentially, that is part of why he kind of fell
yeah,
out of things.
Sabonis also has issues playing at the four as we've seen before. So I think that's a Rashawn Holmes is a pretty good move for the Mavs. Their big thing, to me at least, is acquiring Grant Williams from Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yeah.
Versatile role player, kind of a do-it-all guy, honestly.
Yeah.
On both ends, he shoots, tackles closeouts, defends multiple positions. Just kind of a glue guy, and a guy that they didn't really have, and especially now didn't have with Dorian Finney-Smith losing his mind and then getting traded.
Getting sucked into the shadow realm. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So you really hope that Grant continues his stellar play from Boston. What else? We
Yeah,
got-
I mean, losing Reggie Bullock is a little bittersweet because he was probably their best perimeter defender, or maybe between like him and Josh Green. He was either 1A or 1B. So that kind of sucks. But he is also we talked about Mercurial earlier. One of the most mind-boggling three-point shooters I have maybe ever seen. We talked about last season. I think there's a stat that says the Mavericks last season were like 20 and like 5 or something in games where Reggie Bullock hits 1 3. One!
Noted 3-and-D player.
Like, so it
Oh,
sucks
man.
because, again, probably the best perimeter defender there, or at least in the conversation. But, Grant Williams fixes some of that and is just a knockdown three-point shooter. Like, the way that his shot has come around from when he came into the league is really special. And this also opens up more minutes for Josh Green, who's actually just better than Reggie Bullock at pretty much everything. So that's nice. Getting Seth Curry back is great. He was super good when he was here. I could understand the trade at the time. Hypothetically, they needed more defense and they could stand to lose some of the shooting when they traded him for Josh Richardson. But it didn't really pan out that way. Josh Richardson was pretty bad when he was there. So getting him back is cool. Seth Curry, I hope, can just stay on a team for a little while. But that's nice. The Christian Wood saga is finally over.
Yeah.
I don't have to read any more things about Christian Wood. So that's very nice.
At least not on the Dallas Mavericks.
No. Maybe he can go to Charlotte or something and do that
God bless.
Christian Wood things. I don't know. Spin the block back there again.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked what they did. I gave it a B. They retained Kyrie Irving, which was huge. And then they just kind of bolstered their wing position and their front court, which was definitely positions of need. And we'll see how that pans out.
And Dante Exum's back in the league, so that's cool.
Man,
Dante
yeah,
Exum.
Dante Exum, the legend himself.
Big,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe he
hey,
does,
Big Dante
maybe he
Exum.
It'll be
does
cool.
anything.
You're a big
Yeah, maybe he'll be
Dante Exum
all
guy.
right. It's
Yeah.
we'll see. Yeah, it was fine. Like the draft was weird. I still don't know how to feel about it. It's kind of just however I feel when I wake up. Um, they have Kyrie. Josh Green will be good. It was cool, I guess.
They will
I
not
don't
be
know.
as horrific as they were last season, but I don't see them doing anything like crazy.
The thing is, last season I feel like they were kind of like fake bad. Like they lost a shit ton of games down the stretch, but their like net rating got better after they acquired Kyrie. They just like started losing a ton of close games, like which is weird. I mean, maybe it'll just like sort itself out. We don't know. Uh, yeah,
Should we start?
go Derek
Jazz?
Lively.
Should we-
What is it? The Jazz?
Yeah.
No, for me. Another team didn't do a ton, but I really like what they did, actually. I gotta be honest. I mean, the Clarkson extension, he just had like the best season of his career, so Cook. The Jazz, I think overall, like I obviously they didn't have like a top pick, but I think like the sheer amount of like solid assets they got in the draft, I really love it. Like Keontae George is cool. I know you talked about him. Bryce Sensabaugh, you were gonna talk about him. Um, just some guys who like have like, you know, versatile skill sets. Can shoot in that offense. Keontae George can he can swing it, he can shoot it, he can drive. He just needs to do those things in the correct order. Um, it happens. Like Taylor Hendricks, we all talked about, he could be really dynamic defensively for them. Yeah, I think they just got a really nice haul in the draft. They got three guys that were good value at their pick and feel like they could fit well on the team. They got John Collins for pretty much nothing, and it's sure, he was bad last season, but maybe he won't be bad. He has the finger thing going on, I know, but he's still a really interesting player in terms of
And they gave up nothing to
the
get him.
gifts he has
That
on
is the most
athletically.
Danny Ainge trade I have ever seen.
No, he was so real for that.
Rudy
Um,
Gay and a second round pick. My mind is still just I
yeah,
flamed the Hawks so
this
hard
is
in this
a
last
reclamation
episode.
project. Oh man, if this goes well for them, dude, they look so stupid in Atlanta. Fucking was that Landry Fields over there? If John Collins become they have to be positive that he's gonna stink, because if he does not, this is the goofiest deal you will ever see.
Goofy.
Like, oh man, and you know what? I trust Danny Ainge and his boys. I think there's a chance we could see a little bit of return to form for Collins and this more egalitarian offense that isn't just Trey Young is a great offense. He's an amazing offensive player, but if John Collins is in this spot where he's kind of having trouble getting rhythm with his shot, then he doesn't fit there, and that's fine.
Mhm.
Maybe he'll be able to be a little bit more effective here. I hope he finds it, because he was really exciting when he had it. Yeah. Oh, so they got Omer Yurt 7. I guess that's cool. Backup big. Go do it.
Yeah.
Um,
I gave them an A.
yeah,
I
no,
gave them
a
an
good
A.
offense.
I thought they did pretty much everything that a rebuilding team in their situation should do. They just the John Collins thing was great. Their draft was amazing. Taylor Hendricks is amazing. Great value. At all those picks. Jordan Clarkson extension. I mean, yeah, it's just they just did
Yeah.
pretty much everything right. That they should have done.
Yep. No, this is what you hope for, and they did it. I'm not sure I gave it an A, maybe a B plus, but I mean, still definitely positive. I rock with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like the Jazz draft about as good as any other team, given their selection spots. Like a lot of upside with Hendricks and George and Sensabaugh at their stock. And I mean, they didn't give up anything, so they're just keeping the same team going forward that has, good upside. Bring back Jordan Clarkson, and they don't really lose anybody. John Collins thing, I don't know. They didn't give up anything, so if he plays well, then it's a huge win, because Rudy Gobert didn't play at all. Or Rudy Gay. Excuse
I
me.
mean, he didn't play it all for them either. There's
Yeah,
the whole thing.
true. But yeah, I mean, no, really cool for the Jazz. I like it.
So I know this is your intro, Bashiri. I just want to ask,
Do you want it?
how did you guys grade Portland? Because
Um,
on one
I gave
hand,
them an F because they still have Damian Lillard.
okay, I said C minus. You can take it after Bashiri. I didn't want to. I just wanted to ask that before we started, because I gave him a C minus, and I was just very confused as to how I grade them, because they did some things really well, and then other things they may as well have taken Damian Lillard and Jeremy Grant out back and shot them. I don't really. It's very strange what happened here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I gave the
go ahead.
Blazers a D plus,
Okay.
and the first thing that I wrote here on my prep for under the Blazers is LOL Dame.
I wrote, "What the
And
fuck is going on in Portland?"
I feel like that's kind of been the name of the game for the Blazers. Wow, it is really, really funny what's happening with Damian Lillard. That's a whole piece of drama we can get into in a bit. But big ads in the draft for the Blazers. Scoot Henderson, obviously, second best prospect. Everybody knows who he is. You hope he's great. Chris Murray, I like a lot. He's like his brother, but not as good. Which is cool.
And he's
Which
a
is cool
lefty.
because
That's cool.
yeah, that's true. For some reason, he shoots with his other hand. I don't know how that happens, but he does
It's
that.
genetic.
Um, so yeah, Chris Murray's cool. Ryan Repair, not as cool, but why not?
Yeah, he's French. He's long. You know?
Pause.
he's one of those guys. Unfortunately for them, they appeared to be under the impression that Damian Lillard would like to be on their team for the foreseeable future, and therefore signed a certain Jeremy Grant to 5 years, $160 million. And now Dame wants out, and now they have Jeremy Grant on their team, which is very unfortunate for them, and I imagine is a thing, if only because of some level of mismanagement on their part, to be under the impression that Damian Lillard would still be there and to give Grant that huge extension.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
man.
It is always very sad to see people struggle with addiction. And I just think that if the people in Joe Cronin's life really care about him, they would intervene, because he's clearly on some sort of substance that is altering his mind to give Jeremy Grant $32 million a year for 5 years. I don't really know what's happening over there. I love that they finally pulled the trigger on the Dame thing, and it probably should have happened much sooner than this. But they did that, or they decided that they were going to try and do that, and then they just ruined their team's salary cap for the next 5 seasons. Because I don't see many teams taking that, at least for the next 2 years. So maybe in a couple years you can get off of that. You still have the use of Nurkic contract. So you don't have like cap flexibility the next few seasons, like to really do anything. I know they're a rebuilding team, but like you can't even now take in, bad contracts, and just absorb bad contracts for draft capital to kind of replenish. So it limits what they can do for the next few years. I don't know how they keep doing this, where they just mess everything up all the time. Like, I'm not gonna give them credit for the Scoot Henderson thing, because that was very obviously like
He kind of just fell into their lap, bro. Like
right, they were looking
he probably shouldn't have even been available.
they were looking at Brandon Miller for quite a while. Like, so I don't know. I don't want to give them credit for that, because they were just bad, and now they have Scoot. Chris Murray was cool. I'll give them credit for Chris Murray, but I don't know. It's just their ability to do things that rebuilding teams do is pretty severely diminished now, because of the way that they have messed up their contracts. Also, Bashiri, I know you don't like Trendon Watford a lot. He's a pretty bad defender, but he does other things pretty well. He's a pretty good offensive player for his position, and he's young and fairly athletic. And especially when you're entering this part of your team, I just don't understand why you would waive a guy like that for nothing when you're gonna be bad. You should let him be bad with you, and maybe he'll be better one day. Like, because
maybe he'll be better, or maybe he can just help you stay worse.
Right, like
it's a win-win, really.
Yeah, what's the worst that could happen?
Even
You
if
lose
he's
a lot
bad
of games.
defender,
Oh no!
even if he's a bad defender, he has very tangible, like valuable skills, like the shooting and the athleticism and the offensive upside in his position. So and yeah, I mean, if he's bad, why? Like, okay, you're bad.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like,
Dude,
Yeah.
I think maybe an F is a bit harsh. I think I should probably give them like an F plus, because the Chris Murray pick is like pretty good. But like Scoot fell into their lap. I don't think they should get credit for that. It's like, yeah, you won the lottery, the great offseason, man, you did it. Like, the Ryan Repair pick I don't love, and it's like, bro, they gave Jeremy Grant $10 more billion, and it's like Dame is it's man, it's I have no I have never been more confused for the direction of a franchise than I am right now. They were talking about trading 3 for Pascal Siakam. I think that would have been like an F minus, or like I would need to go to like other letters. It's and I don't even think Siakam is bad. It's just like, dude, you gotta like this franchise is just like entirely rudderless right now. I don't know where they're going, and I think it's because I don't think they know where they're going. It's tough out here,
Joe
man.
Cronin,
It's
get better soon, brother. We're really praying for you here. Get better.
dude, yeah. I mean, at least like Oregon sports, like the university is like usually pretty good, so that's cool.
Go Ducks.
Go Ducks! Fuck yeah. Rockets. Speaking of,
Yeah,
oh man.
I don't want to talk about
Speaking of another team that's probably less cool than the Oregon Ducks,
This was another team that was just a little confusing for me to grade because on one hand, Amen Thompson obviously is like incredible, and especially getting Cam Whitmore at 20 is just insane. So they had a very good draft, but I mean, we talked about it a lot. So maybe this will be kind of a brief segment. We talked about it a lot in the draft episode. They picked these incredible, very tantalizing prospects, and then they just signed two players to very big contracts who are going to play in front of them for the foreseeable future. And I don't want to say limit their development, but certainly slow it down. Fred is cool. He's a good player, but like, I would rather just rock out with Amen Thompson and see what we can do. I don't really care that we don't have our pick this year. I would rather just, see what we can do with Amen Thompson and, spend the money on players who complement him because he's going to be your franchise point guard in a few seasons. Cam Whitmore's great. Now he's playing behind Dylan Brooks. Jeff Green as a vet is great. Jock Landale as a backup is pretty cool. Obviously, from a purely basketball standpoint, and I'll leave it at that, getting Ime Udoka is phenomenal and a great way to start your rebuild. I know he's maybe a little bit rough around the edges as far as developing talent, and you maybe want to see him more with a competitive team, but I mean, he's a quality head coach. He took his team to the NBA Finals in year one. You really can't argue. Again, just purely about the basketball, you really can't argue about his quality as a head coach. Outside of that, I will be fair because I did in the East episode. I slandered Charlotte quite a bit for the Miles Bridges situation. I will say I don't like for all the controversy that happened. I don't like the fact that Ime Udoka basically is right back in a head coaching position without any repercussions, basically for what occurred there. But I am not the owner of the Rockets, so I don't know. I thought their offseason was confusing, to say the least.
Man, maybe you should be, because this was like total grief, man. I don't like it. It's like so like there's some background. Maybe you didn't catch this in the first episode, or maybe you were just like totally the viewer just could not believe their ears when I said this. My second favorite team is the Houston Rockets. Everything's fine, just letting you know. Like with me. Um, but look, man, so like the draft was like a we are so back, you know what I mean? With Amen and Cam. I've discussed it to death. I love the picks. And then with Fred and Dylan, it has never been
You're
more over.
so over.
It's like it never even began. And I don't know. The thing is, I don't think Fred VanVleet is as bad as he played last season. I think he's in a really suboptimal position, surrounded by a bunch of guys who can't shoot in Toronto. And I don't think he'll jam Amen as much as he maybe could, just because he's like kind of like a hybrid guy. He's not like a true ball dominant dude. He like works with and without the ball. That's so much money, though, man. That's so much money for a guy who
Two
might
big
re-
ones.
for a guy who might return to a player who was arguably top 50. You think about that sentence. Okay, like he might get back to a dude who was like probably a definitively above average starter. Like the Fred was good. Like I appreciate Fred was good. Like even all star Fred, it was like that season. Like he just has so many limitations when it comes to like his size on defense, when it comes to his scoring, when it like he just cannot finish at the rim. He's kind of just like a one level scorer, and he's really good usually at that one level. Not as much this past year, which is like again, what is happening? And then Dylan Brooks, man, like hey, he's cool. Dylan Brooks is one of the better point of attack defenders in the association, who also has the capacity to sink an offense like almost no one else, and it's I don't know, dude. It just doesn't seem like signings that you needed to make with the players that are on this team. Like when you're talking about like vets that can come in and help mentor guys, I don't think you're talking about Fred Van Vliet making the Tuvalu GDP, nor are you talking about Dylan Brooks at all. Um, it's tough out here, man. And then the Udoka thing is like, dude, what the fuck? Like these players, I mean, like I would feel so bad for the dudes in the Rockets locker room because it's already a fucking shit show there. Like between the Eric Gordon quote last year about the no improvement, and then just like John Wall just being like, "Bro, they're ass. They would never get away with that 10 years ago." Like, it's been hard for those young men over there, and it's about to become a lot more difficult because they're listen, man. If I'm Jalen Green right now and someone asks me a fucking question about, so what do you think about uh Ime Udoka, that's a PR answer right there. I cannot tell them what I think,
Yeah.
right? And that sucks. To have to answer to someone that that you know in your head, it's like this is a bad fucking dude. I don't like him. But like, oh well. Um, yeah, Rockets.
I gotta disagree on a point here, guys. These off-season moves for the Rockets aren't confusing at all to me. I think they're really, really buying in to the team identity of shooting below 40% from the field. And they've
Oh
got
my God.
two solid NBA vets who can teach the young guys how to do just that even more than they already were.
That might be their only chance to be the best in the league at something.
No,
Yeah,
it's
I mean, we talked about the Van
actually that's
Vliet
not
and the
true, man.
Thompson.
They will definitely be the best in the league at at dunking out of the guard and wing spots. They will have some really cool guys who could do that.
That's for sure.
They will be the best team in the league at dollar bills thrown per 36.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean, I gave the Rockets a D plus, if only for the fact that they were the team that didn't pass on Cam Whitmore again. So that was cool that they didn't do that. Other than that, I don't know. Fred Van Vliet, 42 million a year for 3 years. That's tough.
And it's tough because I get that they had to spend the money, and they also thought that they had Brooke
Spend it
Lopez.
somewhere else. I don't care.
No, I'm saying because rather than giving Fred, I mean, shit, man, even like, bro, like Kelly Oubre doesn't have a job. You can justify maybe giving him, what was he making last year, like 16, 18 million?
Something like that.
You
Yeah.
can justify giving him like 19, 20 million of that, and then spending the rest of it on some other smaller players, and like you're not gonna lose any sleep if Kelly Oubre is here on like 60 over 3 and he's playing behind someone now, and then you trade him next year. Who is taking, if it doesn't work out, or if you want to go a different direction in 2 seasons because Amen is that damn good, who is taking $43 million of Fred Van Vliet? No one.
No one.
No one. At that point, you're gonna have to give up something to offload that contract. It's just it's not smart long-term management. It really feels like they panicked a lot.
If he doesn't bounce back, it's so bad.
Wow, I made that
It's still
joke.
only bad even if he does, but oh my God.
I made that joke. I didn't even realize that Fred and Dylan Brooks both literally shot under 40% for the season last year. That is.
Oh no, they definitely did. I had the numbers
insane.
flash up in my head. I can see it right now. I'm pretty sure it's like 38 and 33 for Fred.
I can see them in black and white with like Vietnam helicopters.
Yeah,
flying
that's,
above
Oh
head,
my
like,
God. Yeah, and
Wow,
Dylan Brooks was
they-
like 39 and 31, right?
good God.
39 and 32 and a half. So yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
let him
Well,
let him
he
cook.
did his thing. Um,
It's not a good look there in Houston.
can we talk
and-
about the Spurs, please? I'm
Yeah,
fucking
This,
dying over
okay,
here.
okay, so we're ending the episode. Like, there's not much to talk about. I mean, it's a pretty easy A plus. Like, they didn't really have to do anything. But I'll let you.
I
I'll let you
mean,
take it.
I don't know, dude. I lost Keita Bates Diop. That's pretty tough. So I'm gonna have to dock them like half a point for. He's good. I think he's like a dude who like
No,
he
he's good.
improves a little bit. You're talking about like a guy who's like arguably a top 100 player in the NBA, which is not a huge barrier to cross by any means. But like for someone who's young and cost controlled, I would love that. Um, Vic is crazy. We all know Vic's crazy. We don't have to dwell on it. They didn't really do that much else. Reggie Bullock, welcome to San Antonio. City Sissoko, you're pretty chill too. That was a good value pick for them actually. I'm surprised they got that. Um, yeah, they did what they needed to do, which is have Mark Tatum show all the other teams first on that one night in like May. Um, and that's kind of it, right? Like they got Vic. That's congrats, guys. You did it.
Yep.
Good off
Yeah.
season.
Victor, yeah, the Spurs won the offseason because they picked the correct guy. They didn't do something catastrophically wrong.
More
Other
Oh,
than
man.
that,
more importantly,
Reggie Bullock is like a cool vet.
more importantly,
Campaign is a cool vet.
the Sandro Mamukelashvili extension. God
Oh,
bless America and the Republic of Georgia for that man.
So true.
You know who I do like them bringing back is Julian Champagne. He actually was pretty
Yeah,
cool for them.
He's been looking
for-
pretty good.
For the last stretch of the season, yeah, he was pretty
He
cool.
started
so,
to play pretty well at the end of last season, and he looked damn good in summer league. I'm excited,
Yeah.
man. He's really come out of nowhere as like a potentially positive contributor.
Yeah, 15 games to close out the season for the San Antonio Spurs. 11 points, 4 rebounds, just under an assist on 46% from the field, 41% from 3. You know, it's pretty solid.
So
So
basketball player. Let him
yeah,
do it.
he could be cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean they have just a ton of young guys, and you know they can just sit around and they're fine.
If you
They're working on it.
If you are not tapped into the Spurs, fun players who might be good this season to pay attention to. Julian Champagny, Sandro Mamukelashvili is fun. I wouldn't necessarily say he's great, but he's really fun, and he has a cool skill set for his position. And maybe Blake Wesley or Malachi Branham. They might be-
Devin Vassell is a good NBA player.
Well, those are obvious.
That's
though.
true.
I'm saying like more low key
Yeah.
guys because I know people.
I don't know. A lot of people just don't watch the
know what I'm
Spurs.
saying, like-
No, that's true. I think the NBA world is still kind of learning about Devin Vassell. If you don't know about Devin Vassell, go look him up. He's great. He's probably the best. If you're not counting Vic, he's probably the best player on the Spurs
Mhm.
right now. It's Keldon Johnson's a little wishy-washy.
He's a little-
Vassell's got
he's
the
going
he's got the defense, he's got the length, he's got the shot making chops, he's got a little bit of playmaking juice. Big fan of Devin Vassell. Hopes he spent a lot of last season hurt, so I hope this is the one for him.
Yes, indeed.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up then. I think we were just a little bit over 2 hours. Like I said, this is part 1 of the off season. This was the Western Conference. Next episode is going to be the Eastern Conference. We will be recording them back to back. You probably will not see the second episode for another couple days or maybe a week just to space it out. But thank you for watching this episode. And yeah, we will catch you guys in the Eastern Conference episode. Thank you for watching.
Yes, sir. Peace out.